Now, as you saw at the end of that video, if you have worked the steps, when you accumulate baggage, because it's hard to avoid, life is life, the 10th step prevents you from carrying it. But sometimes if you have, not sometimes, if you have not worked the previous 9 steps, you have so much baggage that you cannot even have the energy to identify that additional baggage is on you. And we begin to accumulate stuff, and we've got to be very careful. And as I said, Lord, I thank you for another day above ground and out of prison. Lord, I ask that you help me with my physical sickness and give my voice the clarity to speak this message. Lord, I ask that you soften hearts and open minds, Lord. If there's anything that's in me that's not of you, I present the 7-step prayer to you, that I may be useful to my fellows. Please forgive me for any attitude, word, thought that was not part of your will, and I receive the forgiveness right now. Lord, today I just did the best I could, and I thank you for that being enough. Have your way here this evening. Think through my mind, speak through my mouth. Have your way. In your name we pray, amen. I've learned my body. I've had 3 weddings to do in a week, and it's been a little busy, so I can tell when my body's ready to shut down. And, I'm not very good at taking care of myself, even in my recovery, but I know how important it is to be spiritually fit, even before I'm physically fit or physically well. And I thank God for my wife that is my voice of reason when I do go down a couple times a year. But I'm going to ask you to pray for me because my life isn't one that I can hit stop. And I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for the obligations I wouldn't even use the word obligations. I'm grateful for every day's an opportunity. Every day's an opportunity to be of service. I was in a physical funk this morning. I couldn't swallow. I did wash my hands before I hugged you. You're okay. But the first thing on my mind is, I need to get out of my mental state and be of service. I need to go bless somebody. And that's what I proceeded to do, because I know if I do something for someone else, God will do that very thing for me. And when we think about the 12 steps, next week, I'm going to recap all 12 steps with some visuals, and I've really seen a lot of people adhere to these teachings over the last 15, 16 weeks. And in your prayer life this week, we got about 15 addicts that are in Haiti right now. That God pulled them out of the pit of their addiction. They jumped on a plane at 2 in the morning. My wife and I were with them. 4 in the morning. Jeff's wife is there as well, Deb, and these are people that should be dead, and yet they made a decision to serve God, and now they jumped on a plane. Now they're over in the worst slum in the northern hemisphere. Our team was there today. Now, take in mind, if you should have been dead and you're not stuck in your addiction anymore, and you're over there with those kids that don't know what drinking water is, and you're bringing them drinking water, God is good. So please lift them up in your prayers, because it's not, I recently got back from Haiti in the month of April, and I've learned, and I've been taught this, it's not what I could do for Haiti, it's what Haiti could do for me. It's not what I could do for you tonight by teaching you a message that you may or may not like, it's what this message will do for me. And you hear it said all the time, you cannot keep what you have unless you give it away. So what do you have to give away? What do you have to give away? Now, when we start this journey, we don't think we have much to have. We don't have much to give away. We don't have much money. We're full of shame and guilt. We don't have much encouragement to give. We can barely look people in the eyes. Physically, we're worn out. Some of us may be withdrawing, or, our clarity isn't there, so we don't have much to give. But then I would remind you, no matter where you are in your recovery walk tonight, that there must be something so valuable in you to give. Why would the devil try to kill you if you had nothing valuable? Why would the addict, if you don't believe in the devil, why would addiction try to take you off this planet if you had nothing to give to this planet? Why would it come time and time again? As soon as you get back up, it takes you back down. Because the devil is very concerned if you stay up. What you might do for another person. You may be the only Jesus another person sees. You may be the only person that is able to help that particular person. Your story without regrets may be the only story that that person can identify with. I often thought to myself when God called me into this new life that his calling for me was just to help people in recovery. That's the farthest thing from the truth. I learned how to be vulnerable in the rooms of recovery. I learned to be transparent in the rooms of recovery. And everybody is looking for somebody to be vulnerable and transparent. But the normal people of society can't get there. So they're counting on you to teach them how to get real. I counsel people that aren't in recovery, well-off, worldly people. They come to me, the crack addict, for advice. I don't like to use the word I. God has called me to teach married couples how to have a good marriage. That's insane. That's insane. But it's awesome. And that's what he's calling you to do. The very people that are turning their back on you today will call you up tomorrow and say, what should I do? I'm in a pickle. I don't know what to do. I've seen you change. I've seen you elevated with God. I don't know how you're doing it or what you're doing or quite how it works, but I can't deny the change I've seen in you. I can't deny the joy I've seen in you. I can't deny the fact that we're not picking you up from jail anymore, and I'm not hearing about you from your auntie saying I haven't seen him for a week. I can't deny the change in you. Tell me about how you changed. Tell me about how you transformed. Tell me about all those things. And it doesn't happen overnight. I didn't get into the mess that I was in overnight. And I'm not going to get out of the mess in order for it to turn into a message overnight either. There are steps. Say steps. You cannot jump a step. For those of you guys that are in the construction business, but I think all of us have a level of intelligence to understand a brick wall. We ran into them plenty of times in our lives. But if you were to build a brick wall and skip a level, that brick wall ain't going to last long. See, I'm a shortcut artist, and I had to stop that. I learned after taking so many shortcuts that they were nothing but setbacks. And I was tired of getting set back. I was tired, but there was something about the way I looked at myself that I thought I deserved to get set back. I thought I deserved to have a life that was meaningless. I thought I was worthless. I thought that there's no way God could love a drug addict like me. I failed too many times. You know what, God, you gave me that chance last month, but I just screwed it up again. You're probably not going to give me another chance. Let me assure you people tonight that God has not changed his mind about you. It's just, when will you get to your destination? When will you get and walk in your appointed time? And once you get there, you won't want to leave there. See, I just feel a different spirit in here tonight. And I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful that God would use and even think of a guy like me. I didn't have a good track record. There's one thing I was good at, and that was failing. But God. Paul in the Bible says that he was the worst of the worst. And God takes the worst of the worst and turns them into the best of the best. If you went way out there, that means you can go way up there. And when you go way up there, what I'm going to show you with the visual representation of the 12 steps next week, the elevation looks a lot better the higher you go. And I'm not talking higher by getting high. I'm talking about you can look at your problems from a different perspective. Just because you're sober don't mean you got problems. I'm a pastor with problems. You know, I learned to lead while I bleed, just like Kelby did. He's bleeding. I'm bleeding tonight too, but I'm here leading. And all of you guys are leaders. That's what's so valuable about you. You're leaders, but in order to be a leader, you have to be a follower. I'm still a follower. I'm following my leader, and my leader ain't just God. God assigns an earthly leader for you. And if you have enough humility to follow that earthly leader, God will bless you and exalt you in a way that is undeniable. And you'll come to realize, I met with parents before I walked into this sanctuary tonight, and they said, my son has tasted the good life. My son now has tasted the God life. Speaking of a world changer, speaking of a champion, speaking of somebody that God picked up, turned around, and placed on solid ground, stand up. This is a champion if you ever wanted to see one. And this is her son. It's good to see you, girl. You look great. I haven't seen you for a while. See, she's part of the recovery community, the church community, everything. And to see somebody, become a mother. A mother. Even some of us didn't have mothers. And I've met her mother. She's a good woman. But, Tom Schooley's here tonight. Tom, stand up. When were you in our program?
10 years ago.
How long have you been free?
10 years.
Let's give him a hand. See, I like it when God surprises me with a success. Because success is there for everyone tonight. But there's a difference between success and significance. There's a difference between being rich and being wealthy. I run in circles with people that have worldly riches, but they're not spiritually wealthy. See, I don't know where the Spirit's taking us tonight, but I believe that God, through this literature tonight, is going to speak to you in a way that will alter the course of your life, that will make you look at things a little differently. And you'll learn to shut that negative voice down in your head and begin to pursue what God has for you. And when you think about the steps, we know the first step says we admitted we were powerless and our lives had become unmanageable. You hear me talk about it all the time. Everybody else could see it but us. But it's not until we saw the powerlessness and the unmanageability that we did something about it. Now, the second step says that we came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. And a lot of us struggle with our belief system because anything we ever believed in had failed us. But is that really the truth? Did it really fail us? Or did we fail it? You learned last week in the 11th step that if you got a problem with another person, look yourself in the mirror. Why are you giving that person so much power that they would allow you to have a problem with them? We came to believe it's a 3-step process. You show up first, then you come to, then you come to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. I love Hebrews 12. It says that we have surrounded you with such a great cloud of witnesses. You just saw 2 witnesses in these 2 people that stood up. That, if they can do it, you can do it. So the Bible continues to say, let us throw off any sin that so easily entangles us. Why is it the same thing that always trips us up? And let me be very clear. It ain't alcohol that trips you up. It ain't sexual addiction that trips you up. It's pride to think that you know what you need to do for you in order to get better. It's pride. Pride trips us up. And it's like it comes to the point where we got to make a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understand Him. You speak of the will is internally. You got to turn your internal thoughts, your internal decision making. A decision isn't a decision until it's backed up by action. And your life means you got to change your behaviors. Over to the care of God as you understand Him. Now, if you don't believe in God, I love when AA says, use a group of drunks or good orderly direction. I guarantee you stay in this program long enough, you'll believe in God. Because He's going to show you stuff that don't make sense. He's going to make you feel ways that you can't explain. So we make that decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understand Him. The 4th step says that we made. That means that we need to construct something. Fearless. You know what? I was fearless on the streets. I got to be fearless in my recovery. Searching. I searched on the streets. I got to search in my recovery. Moral inventory. I don't like the word moral because I did a lot of things that were immoral. But I had to look at that of ourselves. Admit it to God. God knows already, but there's something about when you got a parent-child relationship, even though the parent knew what the child did, there was something about the fact that my child admitted to me what he did. I already knew what you did, but there was something that brought us closer in our relationship when I admitted to God that I was wrong. And God says, yeah, you owned it now, so it's not going to own you. Now we can have a relationship. To ourselves, admit to yourselves, man, I'm out of pocket. I made some mistakes, but I'm not a mistake. And to another human being, that's called transparency. That's called vulnerability. That's called just being real and authentic. The exact. Now, I don't like to be exact. I minimize and I fantasize. So I had to learn how to be exact. Nature. This isn't me that did this. This is my flesh that did this. But the flesh is part of me, so I had to take ownership of my decisions. The exact natures of my wrong. And the 6th step says we became entirely ready. You know what? I'm sick of me. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. I have no character. And the fact that I don't have any character makes me do these things. I may have talent. I may have potential. But wherever I go, there I am. And I end up in these places I said I wouldn't go back to. So I have to become entirely ready to have God. I tried to remove these defects of character through willpower and good intentions, and they don't work. So entirely ready to have God remove our defects of character. And after I became entirely ready, I had to humble myself even more and ask God to take away my shortcomings. Then I had to look at the people that I wronged through an 8th and a 9th step. I cleaned my side of the street. I talked to my sponsor. I said, who should I make amends to? In what order? Well, I don't know where these people are. Well, if it's meant for you to make the amends, God will bring them to you. And God brought the people with me. I saw one of them in the grocery store. Well, this isn't the right time. No, it's the right time because God made it happen. So I had to act. I had to act. And then I made that direct amends. That only then allowed me to continue, which now I'm on the 10th step, to take personal inventory. I learned how to do that in step 4. I continued to look at myself all the way through 9. And then when I'm wrong, I promptly admit it. Yes, you're going to be wrong. It doesn't mean you're bad or a failure. It just means you're wrong. But the only thing that's wrong with being wrong, if you think you're right. I'll say that again. I don't even know what I just said, so that must have been a spirit thing. So write that down. That was directly from the Spirit. I can't even say it again. I don't even know what it was. But anyways, so then it brings me to the 11th step where we sought through prayer and meditation. Now, a lot of times, guys, we get busy by now, so we're not praying and meditating like we once did. It's easy to meditate and pray in jail. There's nothing else to do. It's easy to pray in the backseat of the cop car or in the room before they bring you in front of the judge. But once you start getting busy, being blessed, that's why it's in the 11th step that you sought through prayer and meditation to improve. Well, improve? No, I'm good. I'm good with God. No. God has no limits. There are no limits on your ability to improve your relationship with Him. My goal with my wife is to continue to improve in our relationship. I'm closer today than I've ever been. You know what? And I'm going to get closer next week because I want to improve. I want to improve my conscious contact. That means I need to be intentional with God, praying only for a new car and how I'm going to get the means to get it. No, it says praying only for His will and the power to carry that out. So if you stay in God's will, and by now you should have walked in His will. So say step 12. But now we're at step 12. And I love step 12. But I believe a lot of people never get to step 12. It says, having had. Say had. Had. That means something just happened. Amen. Had is past tense. Having had a spiritual awakening. A lot of us are getting material awakenings. But there's a difference between a material awakening and a spiritual awakening. It goes on to say, as a result of these steps. So you can't say that you've had a spiritual awakening without the steps. So don't tell me you've had a spiritual awakening without the steps. It says, as a result. Anything that you're thinking about, anything that you're feeling tonight, your outlook, your perspective is all because of a result of something before you felt it. Write that down. Anything that you're experiencing right now is as a result of something you didn't deal with, or something you did, or something you thought about. Nothing happens by itself. It's as a result of something. I'm depressed. As a result of what? I'm anxious. As a result of what? I'm unworthy. As a result that people told me I'd never make it. Why would you let people speak over the authority of God in your life? There ain't nothing in this word that says you'll never make it. There ain't nothing in this word that says that you're a loser. There ain't nothing in this word that says you'll have to pay the penalty. No one's here because you paid the price for everything you did. I'd be locked up. We'd be in maximum. And we'd still find a way to blame somebody for it. But it says as a result. Say result. Result. See, we tried to carry the message. You are the message. But all you're responsible is for trying. You can carry the message, but you can't carry the addict. If you try to carry an addict and you want their sobriety more than they want it, you're going to get frustrated. And you're going to get off your mark. Carry the message. And to practice, now practice, we want everything. I don't want to practice. It's like me trying to put together a table. Don't give me the instructions, I know how, and then the table ends up with 2 legs. So we got to practice. It's practice. These principles in all of our affairs. So you're the same person on Tuesday night as you are on Wednesday morning. And you're not going to get there overnight. But the 12th step doesn't say we practice our feelings in all of our affairs. We got to be living by principle by now. It doesn't matter how you feel about it. It didn't matter if you felt like coming here tonight. Do it anyway. And if you master your body bows down to you because your spiritual significance, your body won't talk to you anymore. I'm going. I don't care what you say, body. I'm sick right now. There's about 10, 12 people in our program that aren't here because they got a runny nose. I didn't quit smoking crack because I had a runny nose. I'll lose my voice by the end of this teaching. You know what? But I'll gain it back by tomorrow morning. I didn't stop shooting dope because, hey, give me another hit. Well, he's not going to understand that I asked him for another hit because my voice is scratchy. I'm not going to ask him. Are you kidding me? I doubt like you were even a junkie to begin with. I say that all the time. I always know how bad a person was and how good they become. It's so true. So I got to get to the message. Say, get to the message. So it says, AA 12 steps and 12 traditions. The joy of living, the theme of AA's 12 step. See, there should be a joy that goes with your living. See, it's not somebody's sobriety that's going to be attractive about your life. It's your joy. And I shouldn't be here. I should be dead. I've overdosed plenty of times. But I got a certain amount of joy in me tonight. That dope ain't making the decisions for me no more. Now, I don't have that joy every day, but when I don't have it, I promptly admit it. So if you remember the day that you were strung out, drunk, at the casino writing bad checks, whatever was going on, you got the cops looking for you, you had no joy. And you looked up to God, even though you didn't really believe him. You said, God, get me out of this jam. And here you are, joy. Don't tell me you ain't got joy. It says the joy of living, but it says that action is the key word. Say action. Action. See, it's a program of action, not talk. All of us are good talkers. Actions speak louder than words. Here we turn outward towards the fellow alcoholics who are still in distress. Let me be very clear. 80% of us tonight are still in distress sober. This isn't just talking about a 12-step call. There are plenty of people under the sound of my voice that are in a heavy level of distress. What message are you going to carry to them tonight? It goes on to say, you got real quiet. That tells me a lot of people are in distress. That's okay, as long as you admit you're in distress. It goes on to say, here we begin to practice all 12 steps to the program in our daily lives that we we and those around us find emotional sobriety. There's a difference between being emotionally free or just sober. I couldn't be a dry drunk. I couldn't do it. It wouldn't last long, but so many people are. It's emotional sobriety. Jim Swanson taught us this when he got his medallion. Where's Jim? Did he walk out? He went to the... See, I'm going to yell at anybody who goes to the restroom. But Jim said he had to get to the why behind the what. The what was his drinking, but why did he feel so miserable that he had to drink? See, the emotional sobriety is everything. It says, but as time passed, we found that the help of AA's 12 steps, we could lose those fears. Have you ever realized that fear makes you do crazy things? I mean, if literally, if something, I don't even like to speak it into existence, but if something fell through the ceiling, this place would be crazy because everybody would be afraid. But what about those internal fears that make you do crazy things? And it says it right here that we lose those fears. No matter our material prospects were, we could cheerfully perform humble labor. See, you got to perform humble labor. So many people just want to get on the stage, want to be noticed. You know, what do you do when you do humble labor and nobody notices you? Without worrying about tomorrow. If our circumstances happen to be good, we no longer dreaded the change for the worse. We don't live waiting for the other shoe to drop. Because you know what, guys? If you haven't worked the 11 steps up until now, and you're plagued with fear, and you're constantly saying this is too good to be true, and you're waiting for that other shoe to drop, you haven't learned patience yet, so you're not going to wait for that other shoe to drop. You're going to force it down. And then you sabotage your life again. See, by now we should know patience. We should know that God is in charge, you know, to the best of our understanding. You know, and it said, you know, when do we fail? When things are good. Now, you know, I mean, I'm the comeback kid, but when I get back, I fall back down. So it says, it did not matter too much what our material condition was, but it did matter what our spiritual condition is. Material condition is external. Spiritual condition is internal. So many people under the sound of my voice are working very hard to get their external things straightened out. Their money, their jobs, their family. I mean, those are all good things. But if you work so hard at getting your external things in place, you'll get what you thought you needed, and it won't be what you thought it was, and you'll still be in pain inside. And the very thing that you use to build externally will bury you. Let me say that again. Let me get a little more detail of what the Spirit just did there. The things you built externally, your family, your job, your finances, and you get it all back in order without no changes in here or here. You know how hard it is to deal with a relapse after you built your family back up? It will bury you. That bank account that you saved up $1,000 in will bury you. That car that was so important that you had and God gave it to you and then you quit giving people rides to meetings will bury you with the DWI. If you are building solely externally, what you're building will actually bury you. I should get an amen with that one. Amen. It says the 12th step is seen in full implication. It is really talking about the kind of love. See, I mean, there's a kind of love that I just really love. That has no price tag on it. You can't explain it. You can sense it. You know, I never knew what love was until I experienced this kind of love. The 12th step also has a way of result of practicing in all these steps, who have found something called a spiritual awakening. It says it is a real sense of being transformed. In order to be transformed, you need to get the information called the literature, the Bible, that gives you the revelation that you're hearing tonight, which in turn births the transformation in your life. Now, where do you think AA got this lingo, this language? Right from the Bible. Right. It says the very sense he has been transformed because he had laid hold of a source of strength, which in one way or another had hither denied himself. Denied himself. Take up your cross. Deny yourself, take up your cross, and follow me. That's where that comes from. He finds that the possession of a degree of honesty, tolerance, unselfishness, peace of mind, and love, of which he had thought himself incapable. I thought I was incapable of being honest. I thought I was incapable of being tolerant. I thought I was incapable of being selfless. I didn't know what peace was. I thought I bought it, slept with it, or snorted it. I'm talking the peace that transcends all understanding. The kind of peace you can't put your finger on. My life's in utter turmoil, but I'm still happy. That kind of peace I want because I've had everything. I've had everything this world had to offer. The house, the picket fence, the dog, the bank accounts, the cars. It leaves you more empty. And I'm not saying anything's wrong with any of that. I got it back, but that ain't what I have. I have Him. And if He wants me to have that, it's used to give it to people. See, I've learned that, and that's carrying the message. It says, we saw this with need to give constantly of ourselves without demands of repayment. I've been giving constantly of myself for 12 years on Tuesday nights. It says, you're welcome. It says, when we persistently did this, we gradually found that people were attracted to us like never before. But here's the thing, guys. If somebody hasn't worked in the steps, they're going to size you up. Like, why are you really doing this? What's really going on here? This isn't more than meets the eye. No. What's really going on with you? See, but if we live that paranoia and the other shoe to drop, we're clearly not at the 12 steps. It says even if people fail us, people are going to fail us. You're going to fail people. I'm going to fail people. We could be understanding, not seriously affected. You know what? People are going to fail. I'm going to fail. You'll fail me. I'll fail you. But it shouldn't take you off your mark. You know, I mean, even at the visible place that God gets me, it's very difficult for me. I mean, I try to do my best because I love hugging you guys, and I need to hug you. Not for you, for me. I love it. But I remember being in a room like this, and if a guy like me forgot to hug me, I'd think he was mad at me. I did something wrong. Because I was so prone to failing. I mean, I remember I was the guy that knew I was sober. You know, I was 2 years sober, and I went and got this job, and they wanted to give me a UA for the job. I knew I was 2 years sober. I still thought I was going to fail the UA. Because I was so used to failing. I mean, I'd be in rooms where somebody would say, have you seen my checkbook? I knew I didn't take their checkbook, but I felt like I did. I felt like they thought I took their checkbook. I mean, living that victim failure life. It says, NA, it works how and why. In the sense that step 12 encompasses all the steps. We must make use of what we've learned in the previous 11 as we carry the message and practice these principles of recovery in all of our affairs. Individually and collectively, each step has contributed to an extraordinary transformation. I love transformation. How does a transformation become extraordinary? A transformation, which is somewhat ordinary, becomes extraordinary by doing the extras. Anytime you put anything extra on top of ordinary, you'll get extraordinary. See, I'm not going to live a humdrum, sober life. It's not going to happen, and it's not going to be intriguing to me. It's just not how God made me. It's got to be crazy. I love what Skronik says. He wakes up every morning, says, here comes a new adventure. Recovery is an adventure. It's a joy. You know, I mean, and it says, many of us have wondered how the spiritual awakening comes about. Does it happen all at once? Well, we wish it did. But if it comes too quick, you won't appreciate it. It says, or does it occur slowly over a period of time? Well, it may be great variations within the experience. Let me tell you something. I'm still having spiritual awakenings. Because God is limitless. He's limitless. It says, well, within experience, see, the guys that are so like, oh my God, you know, I heard it recently. Somebody said, well, they experienced Jesus. And I had an experience with Jesus in treatment at Vanguard. I said, that's awesome. So what are you going to do about it? They didn't do anything about it. Did they really have the experience? I don't know. But the thing is about that spiritual awakening, you know, for me, the initial spiritual awakening was I didn't have to get high today. But check this out. It says, it's so important that we get this in order to cultivate this awakening. So now it's teaching us how to get it. The word cultivate means that you're cultivating unplowed ground. That means you're doing something that you've never done. Some of you, it may be working the steps, and you've been to treatment 15 times, and you never have worked them. That means cultivating new ground. Don't say, oh, I'm such a loser, I should have done it. Just say, I thank God I got another opportunity to do it. The devil's going to tell you, first he tells you don't need a sponsor in the steps, then you relapse, then you get sober again, then he says, oh my God, you didn't even work the steps, you're such a loser, that's why you... See, the same voice that enticed you condemns you. Are you that much... leave it alone. I'll say it about me. I was that much of a punk that I would let somebody entice me and feed right into their hands. And then they went after I bit. I was a punk. All these tough guys I see in prison when I bring messages in there in the county jails, they're tough. You got enticed and you got smacked. I don't care you were driving a 500S because I saw somebody else driving it on the way to jail to see you. Ooh, yeah, the truth hurts. You ain't driving that 500S in that cell, are you? And when you get out of here, when that color wheel spins around, your Mercedes won't be on that either. I love it. I love it. I love you. I love you relate to me. We understand that. That's crazy. You got to learn to laugh at yourself. Laugh at yourself. We were laughing so hard last night at dinner about it was this movie clip about Doug. It was awesome. but it said, all right, I got to get back. Upholding this principle in our efforts can carry the message to the utmost importance. The message is the main thing. Both in our own spiritual state and to those whom we are trying to carry the message. Helping others is perhaps the highest aspiration of the human heart. You really got to get that. It ain't how much money you're going to make. The greatest way to fulfill your soul and your heart is to help somebody. I've been in business for many years, and I've sit across boardrooms on million-dollar deals, and I don't say that to be grandiose. I say that to give you the example of this. That there ain't nothing that can touch a multi-million deal than watch someone like this queen crying, stand up, because she's so grateful that God saved her. Let's give her a hand. The greatest aspiration of any, not just addicts, human's heart, is helping somebody, something that's been entrusted with us. That's what's been entrusted to us, that God saved us so we would help somebody. We would do well to remember, but yet we forget. To ask God of our understanding to continue working through us. You ain't going to be able to do this without Him. Our efforts to carry the message. To practice the principles of recovery in all of our affairs is what we strive for. Only through the practice of these principles in our daily life can we hope to achieve spiritual growth necessary to maintain our reprieve from the disease of addiction. NA basic text. We came to Narcotics Anonymous as a result of the wreckage of our past. You know what? You know who I think is really wrecked? Somebody that's still got money when they're in treatment. And they say to me, well, I'm not court ordered here. I brought myself here. Well, did you bring yourself here because you were doing so good? The more wreckage, the better. The more humiliation, the better. The more humiliation, the more humility. I'm grateful that my life was a wreckage. It was not pretty. And it says that the last thing we expected was an awakening of the spirit. Your ambitions, your goals, your dreams comes back. We just wanted to stop hurting. The steps lead to an awakening of the spiritual nature. The awakening is evidenced by the change of life. See, there has to be evidence of the awakening. There has to be evidence that you've worked the 11 steps. There has to be evidence of joy. There has to be evidence of peace. Because if you ain't got peace or joy, I don't want your message. Can anybody else get sober working your program? It's a hard question to ask yourself. You don't even have to worry about answering if you say, I'm not working my program, I'm working the program. It isn't my way, it's the way. I didn't make this way up. I follow the way. Anybody who has thoroughly followed, rarely have we seen a person fail that has thoroughly followed our path. Now that kind of scares me. Even if you thoroughly follow the path, there's a chance you could fail. That's how serious this is. It's so important. It says, however, all spiritual awakenings have something in common. Common elements mean end to loneliness, a sense of direction. Many of us believe a spiritual awakening is a meaningless until we are accompanied by increased peace of mind and concern for others. That's when you know if you've had a spiritual awakening. Increased peace of mind and concern for somebody but yourself. In order to maintain peace of mind, we strive to live in the here and now. Being present is your gift. By this time, most of us realize the only way that we can keep what was given to us is by sharing the new gift of life with a still suffering addict. I told you, you don't have to be using to be suffering as an addict. Quite frankly, there's more people suffering that aren't using. And if you don't know how to get an answer to the end of your suffering, you will be using. Because that's the only way we know how to medicate the pain. Check this out. The best insurance against relapse is torturous to the torturous existence of using. Now, I believe that there's a great torture when you're using. It's like being tortured. But I also believe that you're being tortured in your sobriety if you're sober without the steps. Now, I want to talk to you real quickly about insurance. What is your insurance from relapse? How much does your insurance policy cost? Do you just have liability insurance in your recovery? Or do you have all coverage in your recovery? See, my recovery insurance policy against relapse costs a whole lot. It costs a lot of time, it costs my talent, and it costs money. How much does your policy cost? It is priceless, but it has to cost you something. My insurance policy against relapse cost me something on Sunday morning, cost me something on Sunday night, cost me something on Monday morning, cost me something on Monday night, cost me something on Tuesday morning, cost me something on Tuesday afternoon, cost me something on Tuesday. That doesn't even take into account 60 hours of study in a week. Your insurance policy has to cost you something. And the higher level of insurance, the lower probability of failure. What does your policy cost you? You all know what it cost me to get life insurance. They went through 10 to 20 carriers to insure me with my business partner. No one would insure me because I'm a liability. I'm a drug addict. They went through all my medical records. They saw all that opiate use. They saw all those treatments. They said, no way are we insuring this guy. Couldn't do the business partner without the life insurance. The bank won't do the deal. If he dies or I die, you have to have life insurance. It's part of business. Cost, I don't even know it exactly, but to my insurance versus my partner's, they finally find a company that would, now I didn't say, oh, God, you're not real. I finally get my life together, no one will insure me. I mean, if you're a victim, you won't have victory. I said, if they won't insure me, I'm not meant to own the business. But it costs 10 to 20 times annually to insure me versus him. Thousands of dollars a year. Because I'm a liability. And knowing that I'm a liability makes me an asset. Knowing that you know what I could use tonight makes me stay sober. Because when you think you got this thing, you just missed it. And it's so important that we grasp it. It says we give freely and gratefully of our time, service, and what we have found here. The service we speak of in Narcotics Anonymous is the primary purpose of our groups. So if you're not serving, you're not in recovery. You're ungrateful. You forgot how bad it was. If I got to ask and beg you to come serve these people of this church in the homeless community, the shelters, and if I got to say, come on, come, if I have to beg you to do that, you are not in recovery. You are ungrateful. You forgot where you came from. Yeah, I'm speaking direct. But you expect me to serve you. You expect somebody to answer the phone when you're in trouble, but you won't pick up when they call. You might be cursing yourself from a future fall, and you look around, and there ain't nobody there because you set that in motion. Everything we experience is a result of something that was done. Everything. I don't ever want to judge because I don't want to be judged. I don't care if you know, I'm not going to give you any ideas, but rob the church. We got cameras, security, don't worry about it. But I'd still love you. I would, you know, and that's a good